Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. We are back with another lap guide, this time taking place at Lago Maggiore East with the Citroen GT on the sports medium tires. This car is a bit wild to drive, so you want to be really careful with all your inputs, especially on corner exit. But let's go ahead and get started with the lap guide. So when you're starting your lap, you can bring yourself a bit wide into the final hairpin and then get the car pointing towards the start finish line. That way you can get a slightly faster start to your new lap. And as you're getting ready to tackle this hairpin, you want to go up to second gear and you want to be really nice and careful with getting back on the throttle, because this car will find any reason to try to throw you into the wall. Now, generally speaking, you can just rev out the car before going up a gear, but if you cross the start finish line, there's a good chance that you'll be crossing it mid shift. So to save just a little bit more time, you can shift up just before you cross the start finish line. And your first braking point is going to be before the sign just up above or before the pit wall on the left ends. And you want to make sure you don't brake even just a little bit too late, because this car can get pretty understeery on corner entry. So you're using all of your braking power, making your way down to second gear, and you can use this final sign up above as your cue to turn on in. Now, Lago Maggiore is known for having pretty lax track limits, so you can cut these corners quite a bit. Ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so you're going to be doing a bit of trail braking, even just letting the car coast for just a moment, so no braking, no throttle input to let the car turn in a bit more. And just be nice and careful getting back on the throttle. And you want to brake once again just before the white area on the right end. You will go down to first gear, and you want to try to keep it nice and tight on this hairpin. And you can even go onto the yellow area on the right, as that is still part of track limits. And again, just letting the car coast for just a moment to get the car to rotate around this turn. And you want to go up to second gear as you get ready to exit this hairpin, and be extremely careful getting back on the throttle. So using half of the throttle input for just a moment and slowly start to feed in more and more throttle input. Now bring yourself towards the right, and as you're about to pass this line that goes across the track, that is where you want to start to turn in and use just a little bit of your braking power. So you see me use around 25% for just a moment, because I want to bring myself towards the left side of the track to get ready for turn number 4. Just nice and careful getting back on the throttle, bring yourself towards the left, brake before you start to pass the first proxy sign that is on the left. So use all of your braking power, go down to second gear for more rotation, turn in before you reach the last proxy sign that is on the left. And this is a turn where you want to make sure you don't overshoot it, because this car will really understeer. Just letting the car coast for just a moment, go up to third gear, and you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle, because if you're too aggressive getting back on the throttle mid-turn, the car is really going to step out, and it can sometimes be really difficult to try to catch it. So try to get the car pointing towards the next section of the track before you fully accelerate your way out. That way, hopefully, the car doesn't give you too much trouble. Then just as the white area on the left starts, that is where you want to use all of your braking power. And you can even see that I'm already turning it just a little bit to the right, so I don't end up going off of the track. Go down to third gear, still turning in a bit more. And as you're about to pass the mobile sign that is on the left, or the end of the pit wall that is on the left, whichever one is more visible to you, that is where you want to start to turn in a lot more. Go down to second gear for more rotation and exit on third gear. And as you're slowly getting back on the throttle, you want to also be careful with your steering input, because as you slowly go back to full throttle power, if you're still turning in too much, the car is going to want to step out on you, and it might want to throw you into the wall. So I'm just turning it just a little bit to try to keep the car from wanting to do a whole bunch of silly things. Brake when the curb on the right is just about to start. And for this turn, you can go down to third gear. And I'm going to be turning in before the curb on the right ends. And this is where you're going to see that the track limits are pretty lax here at Lago Maggiore. So as long as you have 2 wheels on the red and white curb, that is still fair game. Hit the apex and just slowly get back on the throttle. But as you enter this right turn, go up to 4th gear, and this is where you really want to be mindful of your throttle input, because you will need to do a bit of throttle lifting to try to get this car to turn in a bit more and to try to prevent it from throwing it into the wall. So I go to 4th gear just as I enter this right turn, do quite a bit of throttle control. I use the end of the curb on the right as my cue to turn on in. Just make sure you don't poke too much into the grass, as you do risk invalidating your lap for just barely going off track limits. The white curb on the left is still part of track limits, still doing a lot more throttle control, and I am going to be dipping onto the grass on the left, so do be careful about your throttle input when you dip onto the grass. You don't want to lose control of your car. And I want to also be careful about dipping onto the grass on the right, because that will completely ruin me if I dip onto the grass on the right. And then just carefully go through this section flat out, go up to 5th gear, bring yourself towards the left, and brake before the 100 meter board. So this is going to be around the, I want to say the 110 meter mark. That's where I'm starting to use all of my braking power. And you're going to make your way down to 1st gear for more rotation. So going down to 3rd, 2nd, I'm starting to turn in just as the curb on the left is about to end, and in a moment you'll see me go down to 1st gear, and I'll be easing off of the brakes as I'm turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. Down to 1st gear, ease off of the brakes, the car will turn in a bit more. Go up to 2nd gear, and you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle. Try to get the car pointing towards the start finish line before you fully accelerate your way out, and go ahead and finish your lap. Stay on 4th gear if you have a really good lap time coming in. Now let's go through all this again, but this time I'm not going to stop the video, so we'll go ahead and start off with chase cam. So bring yourself towards the right side of the track, brake before the pit wall on the left ends. Down to 2nd gear, take advantage of the runner wide curves as they're still part of track limits. Down to 1st gear, take advantage of the yellow stuff on the right. Up into 2nd gear, being really careful with your throttle input on corner exit. And just stay on 3rd gear, bring yourself towards the left, down to 2nd gear for more rotation, exit on 3rd gear, be especially careful with your throttle input. You can even see right there that the car was starting to step out on me, but luckily I was able to catch it. Brake when the white area on the left is just about to start, down to 2nd gear for more rotation, exit on 3rd gear, be really careful with your throttle and steering input as the car can easily step out over here. Bring yourself towards the right, brake when the curb on the right starts, down to 3rd gear, be a bit careful with your throttle input. Short shift onto 4th gear, be especially careful with your throttle input, and you just want to get the car positioned just right so you can fully accelerate your way through the rest of the S's. Bring yourself towards the left, brake before the 100 meter board, go down to 1st gear for more rotation, exit on 2nd gear, get the car straightened up as quickly as you can so you can fully accelerate your way out a bit sooner, and go ahead and finish your lap. So we'll go through this one more time, but this time we're going to be in bumper cam. So let's go ahead and get that started. So using every single rev that this car has, so you don't have to worry about shifting earlier. Up into 5th gear, brake before the pit wall on the left ends, down into 2nd gear. The red and white curves are still part of track limits, so go ahead and take advantage of that. Down into 1st gear for more rotation, exit on 2nd gear, being really careful with your throttle input. Up into 3rd gear, a bit of a touch on the brakes as you turn left. Then for this turn number 4, you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle. The car will easily step out over here if you're even just a little bit careless. Then you want to brake when the white area on the left is just about to start, down into 2nd gear for more rotation. Exit on 3rd gear, be especially careful with your throttle and steering input because the car can easily step out over here. Brake when the curb on the right is just about to start, down into 3rd gear, be careful with your throttle input. Up into 4th gear, and you want to be even more careful with your throttle input. You just want to get the car nicely set up so you can go through the rest of the S's flat out. Bring yourself towards the left, brake before the 100 meter board, and you're going to make your way down to 1st gear for more rotation. Get the car straightened up as quickly as possible. Exit on 2nd gear and be careful with your throttle input. And that is it for this lap guide. And in a moment we'll see what time we got, which is going to be a 124.9 1.887. And that is it for this lap guide. Hopefully this lap guide helps you out, and if it does help, please do hit the like and the subscribe button. But that's all from me. This is Mr. MCA, and I'll see you in the next video.